change the Traxxas ERevo VXL 2.0 Pinion gear. Now, I did a video the other day on how to change the pinion and the spur gear, which involved taking the whole assembly out. Since then, Traxxas have released their product support page on it, so I thought I'd do an updated video on it. Ideally, to remove the spur, it would be a lot easier to take the whole thing out. You could, however, decide to do it the original way, which I've done, which I still think is a pretty good way of doing it, which is to remove the whole assembly from the car, or you could remove the ESC to get access to the spur gear, but it's still going to be a little bit cramped working there. It's a lot easier to work with it without the thing. However, if you want to do a simple pinion gear change, it's much more easy to do. I'm going to show you step by step exactly how to change that pinion and exactly how easy it is to do. Well, the first thing to do is nothing to do with the motor assembly whatsoever. It's this air vent cover here. Now, I'm not even really paying much attention to these air vents, front and back on the car. So they're obviously needing a bit of air cooling the car. However, the first thing to do is to remove this air vent. The reason for this is you need access to this screw, which can be incredibly difficult with this cover in place. Okay, now I've loosened those two screws. Now removing this has got the battery connected on this side. You will notice this flange on the back of it slots under this hole. So if you simply screw the two screws back down again, the thing isn't properly connected. You need to ensure that little flange slides under the back plate. Next thing I would recommend is undoing the single motor cover screw that holds this in place. Now with that motor screw undone, motor mount screw undone rather, the cover simply slides off. Next thing to do I'd recommend is loosening this top screw. Once you've loosened it with your hex driver a little way, the thing will just, he says, as on camera it doesn't, will just unspin by hand. Okay, when that screw's undone, simply put it out of the way so my knife is safe. Now you think, well, the motor mount moves around, I'll be able to remove the pinion gear. No, because you need to slide the pinion gear that way. This blue metal plate is going to be in the way, so you're going to need to remove that bottom bolt as well, which is the reason why you need to remove the air vent cover. You may think, oh, I can remove the receiver cover and do it. It's still going to fail on there, and it's not going to give enough clearance when you swing it away. Trust me, I have tried. Now this bottom hex screw is very, very tight. What I would recommend is the first time you remove it to put a bit of lubrication both inside the hole and on the screw threads itself, which is this is the third time I've removed it. So I'm going to follow my own advice and put a little bit of lubricant on it this time so it goes back in easier than it comes out. Once you've loosened that screw a little bit, what I would recommend is something like these dynamite hex wrenches in order to make the job much faster, but it is so tight that initially you will need your hex wrench on there. Anyway, this is still going to take a little while, very tight. Okay, now with that screw removed, I'm going to put that carefully to the side. Now, with that the motor will pull out. You need to be careful because the rear suspension set up behind it, a little bit of wiggling jiggling required to get it out. You may think, oh, I'll undo the 3 motor wires. Up to you guys and girls. However, what you will need to do is ensure that this wire for the front servo is well out of the way of the gear mesh, as I'm not quite sure of its original location, and I found it was floating dangerously close to this spur gear the other day, and believe me, with the power of this thing, that's going to chew through that in an instant, and you can kiss that servo wire goodbye. Hello, new servo. Anyway, the first thing to do is to remove the pinion gear. However, one thing I've noticed, there's a little bit of play in here from the other day. Now, I tightened both of these screws down nice and firmly, so maybe a bit of Loctite required when attaching them. Obviously, a huge amount of power here, and that rocking backwards and forwards, there's maybe loosening a bit, could have been catastrophic on the gearing. Now, for a crucial bit that I got wrong on my other video, there's 3 motor mounting holes. This is from the Traxxas support page. The red ones are for the low CG position, the yellow ones are for the high CG position, and the blue ones are for fitting larger motors. Okay, my error was in my first video, I thought that it showed on the side of the box 3 gears, 15 tooth, 18 tooth, 20 tooth. Oh, that's what I thought, so I assumed 15 tooth, 20 tooth, 18 tooth for these positions. Far from it. Low centre of gravity, high centre of gravity, larger motors on there. Please forgive my error, guys and girls, on that. There was no Traxxas support page available when I did that first video. That's why I'm shooting this one to make up for it. First thing I'm doing before I change that pinion, bit of Loctite on those 2 motor threads. Okay, the next bit is going to be down to what pinion you have decided to fit to the car. Obviously there's the Traxxas spur chart here. There is the Traxxas gear chart here, which shows the different spur gears in relation to different pinions. You will notice anything above 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, etc. is shown in red on here. What does red indicate? Not recommended. I ran the 23 tooth pinion with the 46 tooth spur the other day, 54 miles an hour, not even over 70. So I'm thinking 23 tooth is overgeared, or more to the point, it is for use with a larger motor, which those extra 2 holes are in there for on the motor mount. Now the next comical bit from Traxxas is maybe down to a typo or something on here. We've got a 13 tooth pinion, 15 tooth, 17 tooth, 19 tooth, oh hang on, 23 tooth. Where's the 20 tooth spacing that they mentioned to achieve the 70 miles an hour? It's not on either of the charts on the website, despite this diagram with the multicolours on there indicating 20 tooth can be fitted. There is no indication for the spacing of that 20 tooth. So boys and girls, we're on our own until somebody wants to comment on that. Also, for a bit of comedy, it mentions a 14 tooth, an 18 tooth and an 88 tooth pinion. Now I've been in my local model shop and asked where I can get an 88 tooth mod 1 pinion. Like I did, they fell about laughing. Okay, well, on to more serious matters. In this chart it does mention the various positions A, B, C, etc. on here, which correlate to the 3 holes on here, A, B and C. And these are the holes A, B and C on there, which that little screw that you can virtually tighten in with your thumb to lock on those. People, there are a couple of things I'm struggling with, and you might as well. It looks on here 40 miles an hour on the speed chart, 16 tooth and 46 tooth, well, 16 tooth pinion and 46 tooth spur, and on the speed gearing 20 tooth and 46 tooth. However, on the gear chart here for the low centre of gravity one, you've got 13 tooth, 15 tooth, 17 tooth, 19 tooth, 23 tooth, no 20 tooth, no 16 tooth. So how are you meant to get those combinations? Answers on a postcard, because I haven't a polite word, a clue for it. Now clearly this is down to an early version of the support page being put out, but Traxxas, this needs correcting. You shouldn't be advertising 20 and 46 tooth pinions on there with absolutely no instructions as to how to fit them in the manual. I sort of stand corrected on this. It does mention, I've noticed, like in the small print in the manual, by removing this you can set the fixed, you can remove the fixed ratio, set it on there and put the screw back in without that gear, without the fixed setting on there, and slide it manually to accommodate the thing. So maybe that's how we go about doing it. We live and learn. The reason why I want to do this, folks, is I want to try getting more sort of double, is I want to move from single backflips to double backflips, so I want more torque lower down. So I've got myself a 12 tooth pinion on here. I've not got the 11 tooth one that they mentioned, but we'll try this and see. Also be aware that whatever pinion gear size you use, it kind of goes on upside down, if that makes sense. Okay, well, I've put my 12 tooth pinion on. The one thing you're going to need to do is make sure that black plug slides through that hole located in the gear assembly over, all being well, in perfect alignment, he says. So I've removed the little fixed spacing point on it. Very, very unhappy that I'm not able to fit a 20 tooth using that fixed spacing point, given the amount of torque and the pressure this is putting on the motor. I can see us getting through quite a few of these gears very, very easily. Now you can use a piece of paper to put down there through and set the mesh, but I kind of prefer to just do it by feel, guys and girls. I hope you know what I mean on that. So I'm just very gently going to tighten that screw, because I need to still put the bottom one through. Now the final step is to reinsert this bottom screw. One last thing I forgot to mention, do remember to put a bit of grease on the screw going through there. Okay, well, I'm on the final stage. I finally got this bottom screw in, even grease on it. It's probably taken me about 10 minutes to get that single screw in there. Maybe I've just been unlucky, but every time I've tried this, I've been an absolute pig. It's very, very tight, very hard to do. You can't get pretty much any access from this angle. Maybe I've just been unlucky. All answers on a postcard, but something Traxxas needs to change on that, because that is very, very off-putting. There we go. I've got my 12 tooth pinion in there, ready to give it a bit more torque on there for the 462 spur on there. Still should give quite a decent turn of speed on there, but hopefully that bit of extra torque will give me the double black flips that I'm looking for. Oh, and I would say, and you will notice in this video, I didn't actually need to remove the motor leads at all. So if you're just changing the pinion, there isn't any need to move the motor leads. Just do be aware of this servo wear on this side, as that could get very easily shredded on there. I would make sure this screw is very, very tight. Any flex in that and your metal pinion is going to strip that plastic spur in a second. One of the last two steps, the first is to slip the spur and pinion gear cover on and put the screw back in place on there. Now the very last step is to refit that battery air vent cover, which also acts as the battery side locking strap. So you need to ensure that flange that I talked about at the very start of the video fits under down in there before you retighten those two screws. Okay, and there we are, all done. The Traxxas ERevo VXL 2.0 pinion gear change. Hope that helped. A little bit different from my first video. I'm still not entirely happy with the fact that you can't set the pinion positions solid in place using this little spacer for every single gear option on there. I can just see this sliding back. If it slides back at all, you're just going to strip the spur gear. All comments on this video much appreciated, good or bad. Well, hope you found that how-to video useful. If you did, then please do give it the thumbs up. Some people sometimes comment, oh no, you don't want to do it like that, you want to do it like this. Please guys, make a video of it, post a link to it, and I will share that with everyone on this channel. But if you already know how to do it well, why are you watching my video on how to do it if you already know how to do it? Does that make sense? Seems odd to me, guys. Anyway, hope you get my point there. If you like this video, then please do subscribe, and by all means share with friends. Like this video, if you did, please click on the circle image to subscribe. Thanks for watching. It helps if you want to turn on the notification button next to the subscribe button.